as I was saying, issue we have is how to think of rationality. And in economics, there is a concept called utility. And utility is a weird word. It sounds like useful. But by useful, we only mean what's useful to you, what do you care about. So as I said, a better word to think about is utility is like what do you want, desire. And we're going to add to this a concept that I'm going to call marginal utility. This is a complicated concept for philosophical reasons. I can actually do a bunch of things easily with this mathematically. The biggest difficulties with this have less to do with math and more to do with, does this even matter? How does this work? What is this idea anyway? But at this level, that's where we're going to go. When you go further ahead in econ, you're going to come across additional ideas, ordinal utility, indifference curves, other kinds of ideas. But for us, right now, complicated idea, but we're going to stick with it. And the idea of utility is, so far, when we talk about demand, we talk about people paying money, right? So our example so far was consumers in the supply and demand for roses. How many roses would you be willing to buy at $5? And we had consumers A through E who had different kind of willingness preferences. Then we said, how many roses would you be willing to buy for $4? And we went through consumers A through E and we figured out what they would want to buy and so on. So what you want to think about is that part of what we're saying is behind that demand is an assumption, a concept. And that concept is the idea of utility. What I'm saying is, whatever you paid for something in terms of dollars must be worth as much or less to you than what you got. If the roses were not worth $5, you wouldn't have paid $5 for them. If the roses were not worth $15, you wouldn't have paid $15 for them, and so on. So the idea of utility is the idea that I can ask you, how much is this worth? And you will tell me in units, because our current units are dollars. You can actually convert your desire into units of utility, and you can convert your money into units of utility. So, for me, $1 might be worth more or less. For my colleague, $1 might be worth more or less. But the key is that each one of us can think of how much is $1 worth opportunity cost in relation to what we can acquire from that dollar, units of desire, utility. And the idea of marginal utility is that you buy until the amount you spend on the next unit of the good is worth as much or less than the dollar you spent. So I'm not saying dollars are worth same to everyone, right? I know. Yeah, I'm a faculty member. I got a good salary. $5, not a big deal to me. I know you are a student. You work hard. You are saving, you are scrimping, you're wondering how to go around, and you're thinking, $5, that's a big deal. That's not my point. My point is not whether $5 is worth more to me or to you. My point is whether $5 for you is worth more or less than the coffee to you. Whether $5 to you is worth more or less than the roses to you. That's all. So I'm comparing your spending of money in relation to your desire and what you want. And you might have a different calculus than me. I know this. I have students who often pay for coffee because what they're thinking about is they don't want to be, like, it matters to them. It matters more than that $5 to them, that they don't always ask the professor for money, that they're also able to buy something. Their utility, whatever it matters, whatever it means to them, their utility for that cup of coffee is worth whatever dollar they spend. I'm not saying their dollar is same as my dollar. I'm just saying when they buy that coffee, they are making a calculation about what they want versus what they're spending. And so that idea of utility is this idea of the rational consumer. The average consumer is focused on what works for them, what they need, what they desire, and what it means for them to spend the next dollar, the next $2, the next $5. At the marginal level, they're calculating one more cup of coffee, one more dollar, one more flowers for my professor, $2 more. That marginal calculation is what we are going to focus on as a rational choice. So rational choice is that people maximize their utility. You maximize your utility by taking your money and spending it dollar for dollar on all the things that give you the best return for your desire. Before we go any further, I just want to note we have problems. We're going to do work on how to calculate this. But remember, at the end of the day, this is a class on economics. This is not a class on math. So your question is not, can you calculate marginal utility and marginal desire and marginal price? Your question is this how people work? How does desire work? How often have you been in situations where you would have preferred not to spend the money, but you had to spend it anyway? Alternately, how often do you really think you think in terms of rational marginalization? And I'll give you an answer, my own personal example. I was in graduate school. I had no money. My parents were in India. Exchange rates, no foreign exchange. And I had this opportunity. It was presented to me as this amazing opportunity. It was to go to a conference in New Orleans. I'm vegetarian, so I go there. Everything in New Orleans has lobster, fish, crayfish, meat. And then at the end of the day, the whole school gets together for a dinner. This is the networking opportunity I'm told I'm going to get, right? Go to these places, you'll get network. I go. So first, my partner, who's also now one of your professors, Colin Danby, was called aside and said, "Sir, you can't go in without a tie." And they gave him a tie before he could go in. So it was, we were both students. He's like, "Okay, I'll wear a tie." White guy, he could go in. I also went in. I was wearing my coat, borrowed. And I'm looking at this menu. I'm looking at this menu left to right. I'm looking at it right to left. And I'm realizing prices are out of my reach. I'm also realizing I don't know what these dishes mean. So I finally order something that looks vaguely cheap after I ask the waitress, "Is this vegetarian? I don't eat meat." And she says, "Yeah, patate. It's great." Okay, that was the most expensive dish of French fries I have ever paid for in my life. But also, I had no idea what I was getting. She was, I didn't know what all these French things meant. It showed up. And my advisor, bless his heart, I love him to this day, he started laughing. Because, we were sitting there and people were like, "Let's split the bill equally." I had French fries, cheapest dish on the menu. Other people are like ordering wine and lobster, and then Steve Resnick, bless his heart, he's like laughing and saying, "Charu is going to pay for the most expensive dish of French fries in the world. Can we make sure she doesn't pay for it?" So when I think of marginal cost and marginal utility, what was I paying for? What did I desire? And how, in any way, did what I paid and what I got and what I desired triangulate? If Steve wasn't there, I would be in deep trouble. He bailed me out. He paid my bill. He also helped me understand, as a result of this, that this is a really good theory for some things. This is a really great theory. When I go to buy milk at Rite Aid, when I walk in to buy mushrooms, potatoes, whatever, it may not be the best theory to understand what you do when you're trying to leverage status, worry about labor markets, have expectations about future returns, and your assessments of them. So there are places, this is not the best theory, where we have to, not that it's wrong, but we have to adjust this. And we're going to do a ton of work in the rest of this quarter adjusting it. But for now, for 80% of your life, this is a great theory. 20%, not that good. We'll help you figure it out. That may be the biggest 20% of your life. That's fine. But 80% of your life, this is pretty good every time you go to buy milk. Thanks.